Hello everyone and welcome to another design of the week. This week we're going to be doing something fun for Halloween. I call it my crazy eyeball design. And we're actually going to be doing two nail designs at once this week. I've alternated my eyeball design with also a lime green nail that's got either the word trick or treat on it. And I'm going to take you through step by step on how to create these looks. And there's a lot of layering to it, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So grab your tools and let's get started. For this design, there's a lot of layering steps and there's some drying time in between because we're not just using stamping polish, we're also using regular polish. I would recommend starting with the green nail, and we're going to do the white stripe across that, and then as that's drying, we'll focus on the white nail. Make sure that you've gone through and base coated all your nails with the white and the green and let that dry really well so we can get to this next step. So let's start with the green nail here. Take a regular white polish and we're going to just freehand a stripe across the nail on an angle like this. I want to cover the majority of my nail because the trick or treat word is really long. So I'm going to do it in the fullest part of my nail that I can and try to get right to the edge there. Don't worry if you get it on your skin, but it's important to get it in the cracks so that once you get the word on, that won't show. We don't want to see any green on the corner there. We're going to let that dry. While that's drying, we'll start working on the white nail. For the white nail, the first step we're going to do is we're going to use our red stamping polish, and we're going to be using this design here that looks almost like lightning bolts, but I think it'll be perfect for the bloodshot red behind the design. It's on plate A32. I've got it in my plate holder here, but you don't need a plate holder. You can put it on paper towel or cardboard. Just make sure you have a little piece of paper towel beside you to wipe off the excess off your scraper. It'll prevent you from getting really messy with the polish. Okay, so take your red, and we're just going to cover the design like this. We're going to take our scraper, scrape across, wipe on paper towel, roll the stamper, check it, and then just line up on the nail and go right over top like that. Okay? So you can see right here, I've got the red bloodshot background for my crazy eye design, crazy eyeball. Okay, so make sure that you clean your stamp off like this, and your stamper and your scraper as well. And we're ready for our next step. The next step for the eyeball design is we're going to take our Miji pen, and these things are fabulous. I've used them in lots of other videos and I think they're great because I can't always get everything from a stamp. So the next best thing as to using those artist brushes for doing hand done nail art, and I like it because I can control it a little better because of the tip. What we're going to do, make sure that when you're using your Miji pen, you squeeze a little bit out on a paper towel first because there might be an air bubble and we don't want a big blob of paint going onto your nail design. What you're going to do is you're going to freehand a circle in the middle of your nail. Okay, and you can modify this for any nail length that you have. So I'm just going to gently squeeze. I'm going to do my outline first of my eyeball. Okay, so I'm just gently squeezing with my Miji pen, and I'm going to try to make sure that I got it in the best circle that I can. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Okay, then the nice thing about this is instead of using a brush, which could end up going outside the lines, you're just going to squeeze and just kind of go across inside your circle like this because I want a plain white background. The reason I'm doing this is because I find the end result makes the eyeball look more 3D. You don't have to do this, but I think it just makes the design pop. You could just stamp right over top of what you just did, but I prefer it this way for the design. Not too much, because if you get too much, it's going to take a long time to dry because this is regular polish. So after that's done, you really need to let that dry. It's probably going to take a good 10 minutes before you can stamp on top of it. If you do it too soon, you're going to move it, it's going to create a ridge, and it's just going to mess up your design. So just make sure it's really dry. Maybe watch a TV show or do something in between. Using a blow dryer or a nail dryer can help speed up the process as well. Now you can go back and check to see if the stripe on your green nail is dry, because then you can stamp that. And mine seems to be dry, so I will move on to this step and we can work on that while the other nail is drying. We're gonna move on to using plate from my new series, which I absolutely love. It's my W series, it's W235, and now everything's available on the web store. If you'd like to purchase anything to do this design, feel free to take a browse. You can link to it right off of my website. Okay, so in the middle here, we have this word called trick or treat, and this is super big. And not everyone's nail is gonna fit this. Maybe fits on a thumb or a toe, but for the most part, it's not gonna fit on a normal size nail. So what I decided to do was to split it apart. And this is great because stamping lets you choose where you put your paint. I've already done the word treat over here. I'm gonna do the word trick on this nail. I'm going to use my black stamping polish for this. I'm just going to put it right over the word, being careful not to go over the or of trick or treat. Okay, I'm going to scrape this way or even this way just so I don't get any of the other words. Okay, making sure to get it all out of the way. I'm going to use the big end of my stamper, check it, and I'm going to line it up on the edge of my white stripe and go right across. Just like that, as you can see. And I'm just going to clean this off before we move to the next step. As you can see, I've outlined the treat with my black Miji pen to get rid of all the white here, and I just think it creates a spectacular effect. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take make sure you take the air out first, your Miji pen, and you're just going to gently squeeze and fill in between the letters, okay? And then drop it down a little bit like this to look like it's dripping a little bit. I found the bottom of the design, which is the word treat, already had this in the stamp, but because I separated it, the top part didn't, so I just added it like this. Now I'm gonna go in between the C and the different letters. For the top, I'm just going to go straight across. I'm not going to worry about making it drip from the top. I love these pens. They're so great, especially for getting in all these tight little corners. Be very hard to do with a brush. Barely squeezing because you don't want big globs of paint on here. Just like that. Check it to see if there's anything else you want to add. I think I'm just going to pull this across just like this. And then I'm just going to leave it like that and let that dry really well. Because it's regular polish, it is going to take a lot longer to dry. Be careful you don't run your hand over anything because it will nick, and then you have to take it all off and start again. But we're ready for our next step. Once your circle has dried on the middle of your nail there, on the white nail for the eyeball, and we're ready to do some more stamping. Now that the eyeball circle has dried on my nail, we're going to stamp the eyeball part. We're going to use plate M16, and we're going to use the larger button to make our eye. It's a perfect circle, and it looks really, really neat when you've got everything done. So take your green stamping polish and place it over the larger button like this. Scrape. Well, and I'm going to place it off to the side You could also put it in the middle of the circle, but I find off to the side makes the eyeball look even crazier. So I really like the effect. And clean that off. And we're ready for our next step, which is the iris of the eye. So we're gonna go back to our Miji pens again. We're gonna use the black one. Make sure to squeeze out the air bubble first. What we're going to do is we're going to just gently squeeze a small circle in the middle of our button here to make the iris of the eye. Okay, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It can be even a little lumpy looking. It makes the eyeball look even better. Then you're going to take your white on the other end of your Miji. Don't forget to squeeze out the air bubbles, very important. And you're just going to gently squeeze, and we're going to place those little white dots, one on one side of the black iris and one on the other. And that just gives the reflection of the eyeball. Makes it look more authentic. We're going to go back to our black now, and we're going to trace around the outer circle that we did originally. Carefully, not squeezing too much. We're just going to go around the outside of the eyeball, and this will define it even more. Okay, take your time doing this. Don't rush. Okay, so as you can see, we've now outlined the eyeball. Starting to look like a crazy eyeball now, isn't it? Now, I wanted to add a little bit to the background because I found that it just needed something. So what I did is, using my Miji pen, I just added a little bit more crooked lines like this coming right out from the eyeball. Not too many, just kind of in between the red, like this. And one there, maybe another one here. And I find it just kind of grounds the design and your eye goes right to it. For the final step of this nail, we're going to take our Miji pen in red now, and we're just going to finish putting the bloodshot veins close to the eyeball. If you get drips coming out of your pen there, just blot it off on a paper towel so you don't get too much on your design. Okay, same thing, I'm just going to do a few little squiggles, spaced apart, going from the outside of the eye towards the green center. And just like that, and we're done. I hope you've enjoyed this design, everyone. This would be great to do for a Halloween party, or maybe the week before Halloween, a school dance, or just something fun to do to experiment and also to work on your stamping skills and layering and trying new things. Please let me know how it went, and I hope to hear from you soon, and we'll see you next time for the next design. Thanks for watching, and happy stamping.